Some people still do say that education is important, that it amounts to something. I'd like to acknowledge that there are certain things and trends in our world that can question and refute that uh, belief that education amounts to something. Reagan used to chide Oscar Arias, the Costa Rican leader, as that Nobel laureate because he didn't spend much money on weapons. And Reagan wanted everything for weapons, so everything he could suck out of the economy. He was a tax, and spend fascist. And he said, educate that Nobel laureate scornfully. Education, what does an education amount to? And people will look at what the sandbaggers, Galloway, Jones, breakthrough people, Becker, pulled off, Abby Martin and them. They're Nosferatu, whose blitzkrieg of Gaza, when everything that we stand for as education, educated people, was trashed, destroyed, and demoralized, suffocating child after suffocating child. I mean, who could not be appalled? What does education amount to? These sandbaggers are, I'll shake my fist at you, I will. And Nosferatu, who's like, what would you do if they were Jews? They say, we would stand up and shake our fist at you. And police show up. The FBI station director comes outside your house with a headset and listens to the rhythm of your heart and asks invasive Brian Eno questions at you. What do you mean you would shake your fist at them? Do you mean that you would hurt somebody? No, no, no. No, we're democracy. We're educated, is your reply. And they say, we need to test this thesis, that you would merely shake your fist. So that they get together with Hollywood, with snuff film operators, and with petty thieves. And they say, aha, they come up with the spinner beanie. Seattle uses their noodle. And they rip and murder a girl. And they say, aha, now how do you feel? And you say, I will shake my fist at you. I will shake my fist at you. They say, see, you're pathologically violent. We'll have to arrest you. And they take you away. And you go, no, no, I will behave. You will see. I will go to school for 4 years and I will behave. Nosferatu, who says, and if they were Jews, oh, you sandbagger, Jimmy Craries, would you do more than shake your fist? Or would you dare to shake your fist? And they all assure you, we rubber stamp, we notarize, we would shake our fists, we would shake our fists. And the FBI come and they stand there, we would shake our fists, nah, 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 nah. And this is because they're educated and their education stands for something. They have one of these ninnies from Carnegie Mellon University, the place where for years I've been reporting that Nosferatu's gang were planning revenge for Auschwitz. I put it in bold print in 1994. He stands up, what's his date? 2025. He stands up and says, why are you in The Hague to Blinken. Blinken's not in The Hague because he's a friend of Penis Gabriel, who you put all your money on, remember? Sam, you put all their money on Blinken and Penis Gabriel back in '94. That's 30 years ago. 30 years. These educated people have been saying, give me blood, give me blood, give me blood, give me blood. Now, why are you in The Hague? Ah! But education does sometimes stand for something. And I'll try to help whoever you may be. I don't want to disappoint you. You might be some cyberpunk from Moxieland who's come across Jimmy Creary and decided that what Adrian Belew did for Saul Brecker and Gail Burstyn was an unhappy act of sadism that led to the destruction of a perfectly good, decent, God-fearing young man. You might want to know whether his education amounted to anything. So I'll show you what happened. When this is what you're up against, education can help you if you know what you're up against. You're not just up against these sandbaggers who, Abby Martin can get on the phone to Paul McCartney and get someone on your penis. And that's one form of education. Vote Trump. Vote Trump. You'll get a bimbo. Natsumi Soseki, the Japanese have literary figures on their currency, on their money. And Soseki Natsumi is one of these characters. He won a Nobel Prize or something for his literature. He has a theory of literature. Okay. He was back in 1910 and stuff. He went to Europe and that. But he was Japanese, the thinker. He was a professor, like the guy in the movie Matadeo, Kurosawa's last film. He had this theory, like when you look at what just happened with Toon, with his, a couple of people still recognize and remember that Toon did like this. And there were a lot of cartoons about Van Gogh, which were meaningful because that's what they did. They pulled a stunt. But you would have to get context and do flipping through newsreels if this was 20 years ago rather than just yesterday. To try to explain to somebody who's sitting there rolling their eyes, they want to talk about something else at lunch. And all these people are rolling their eyes. Oh, that's important. Have you been reading Jimmy Creary? And you're going through newsreels, right? Try to put together, and it seems like right when it happened, so people knew about it. And there were even, if you could get into Wire Club, if you could recall TikTok from the dead, you would find that there were actually people saying, was it a trick? Did it really happen? The FBI says it didn't happen. There were all these corroborations that there were question marks. But you would have to go through all these newsreels to reestablish. But Natsumi Soseki, he says it's because the people's attention is like the tip of an iceberg. And it travels across the page. You go through page 1, page 2, page 3. Your eye follows across the page, and it follows your heartbeat. The issue, does it put you to sleep? Are you interested? Are you immersed? So right when the iceberg point tips, there's all of these attentive issues, all of these attentions to details. Back when they were torturing me and abusing me and making peep shows. The tip of the iceberg was from the Pittsburgh Cinema War Department, commanding the Cherries in Winchester Thurston Girls School and Ellis Girls School. Kyra Sean, Leslie Katz, and Gail Burson put together this script. And they were doing things like that George Romero told them to do. Kyra was his daughter, rubbing vagina in the subject's face and things like this. And then they were doing Pete. Would it lead to an abortion? And then we have the crucible in place for our production system. And you would think with something that evil is going on, attack prostitution would be questioned. But they had these guys from England and derbies who come down and say, no, John Lennon would be opposed to children having sex, to teenagers having sex. They're like the fundamentalists, the Ayatollah. And today, having covered for the whole shebang, they say AIDS may be man-made. Well, they don't even admit that, but that's the standing point as a sandbagger. But Donald Trump must apologize for killing an Iranian general. How did he get away with that? Well, Iranians are bad people. They're the bad guys, was in the tip of the iceberg. And Toon saw his opportunity to fire a badminton arrow into the mists. And they had this guy who looked like my father. I was, sad. So education does amount to something. If you wonder when you come across an issue, let's say you're interested in what Peter Gabriel meant by the navigator, clearing the air. Like when I said I was from Iowa, not Desert Island, and they get a queer to blow up the USS Iowa, and Pat Buchanan puts wounded Iowa heads home, and in Bagger News, like when I said something about Ming No Wen, they put chink in AIDS armor. I called them the Swami Nostra. Kathy Hayford was in the car with me at one point in the moving tip of the iceberg when I said it's hard to believe that Jackson Labs hasn't suffered consequences from what I've reported about what Will Zell was doing in the AIDS war game on Mount Desert Island. And no sooner did I say that, we saw the plume of fire in the sky. Jackson Labs went up in smoke. So, but you would have to be in the car at that tip of the apex to see the issue, the hot wiring connection. And Penis Gabriel called it an experience park. He jumps down, holds baby with the pig wiener, Brian Eno. Ray Geyer used to talk about pig wieners being coiled. They go zoot, zoot. And he says it's an experience park. So the Jackson Labs got experience parked. Gaza got experience parked. And if you ever want to, I call them the Swami Nostra. If you ever want to investigate the Swami Nostra, you have to be able to reproduce how they operated, and trace them back to the issue of the conversation with the dead that is scrutinized in web academics pertaining to Gabriel D'Annunzio. Because the Swami Nostra conversation with the mystical John Lennon's spirit of the martyrs. It traces back like the whole issue of Lenin's Houdini and Wyspansky to New Age newspaper, Gabriel D'Annunzio, of 1912. A counterfeiting den in Fayoum, where the great dictator Mussolini was introduced to D.W. Griffith, the men who created the great dictators, invented the Burning Cross for the KK, and made Reagan's wartime films, who Paul McCartney said were the victims. George Galloway wants the victims to apologize to the bad guys. The sandbaggers say that they won't. Don't worry, we won't shake our fist. We won't even swat that fly. We won't even march by a synagogue. We won't even call Netanyahu anything other than Honorable Mr. Netanyahu, who belongs in The Hague. Why aren't you in The Hague, says CMU? Why aren't you in The Hague? Ha 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 ha.